What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the table. My name is Ryan, as you hopefully know, and today we have a special video for you. I understand that this is coming post Pro Tour 3. It was a great tournament. I'm very happy for Michael Fank. Congratulations on an insane run and just a great win. The event itself was fantastic. I was not there, so I am not going to comment on just kind of the state of Flesh and Blood. I am more so going to be talking about the lady of the hour, the future lady of the hour, the past lady of the hour, but a character who I'm sure most of you are extremely hyped, and then I guess some of you are probably, cursing at the skies because she's returning. But hopefully most of us, or most of you like myself, are excited to welcome back somebody that has been missing for a few months now. And that, of course, is Miss Prism. Over the weekend, we got kind of our first little spoiler or look at Dusk Till Dawn, which is the next and 10th set in Flesh and Blood. And in that video/article, not only did we get this beautiful art, which is the new young Prism hero, but we also got confirmation that there is going to be a new adult version of Prism coming out in Dusk Till Dawn. That article also said that Chain will not be coming back. We're going to get a new Shadow Runeblade hero, which is also very exciting. Shadow Runeblade was a very warped hero. Chain was one of the strongest, if not the strongest hero before he got nerfed, and still living legend himself over the course of a year or two in the game. So very powerful heroes. One of them, Prism, is returning, and then we do have Vincent, who we're not going to talk about this video, but she is the new Shadow Runeblade that will be occupying that space. So it's a very cool thing that we're getting those two heroes. Now, if you guys have been fans of the channel for a long time, you might remember back in Monarch when we all kind of jumped in and got into the game. My first couple of videos that I released for this channel were focused on Prism. I released maybe 2 or 3 Prism videos, talking about my deck and things that I liked doing with her, and kind of the way that I built her, which looking back now, seeing all the things that we know, it was very spectral light. I don't know if I ran many, or I didn't run all of the auras, and this was before the blue auras came out. But still, I didn't run all of the auras. It was more Herald aggro, which is funny because that just wasn't the way that Prism ended up being played at a high level. But I dedicated a lot of time. I played Prism as recently as the last season of Rodonats, I think. So I love the character. I love the design. I love the play style. And I'm very excited for her to come back. But, making videos with her or about her is something that I really want to get back into doing. And so that's what I'm starting today. What today's video is going to be, obviously, we have no idea what her character powers are going to be, what her ability is, what the cards that she's going to release. We do know a couple. Because one of them was in the spoiler article, and then one of them was released in Dynasty. So we do know kind of what her aura, for lack of a better term, what her aura is going to entail, what her deal is going to be. And so what this video is going to be is kind of my speculation, cards that I think are going to be good. This is not a buy video or a market watch video or anything like that. But, if you're excited for Prism, if you're a newer player and you're looking for kind of a primer on what cards you should kind of buy and get before the Dusk Till Dawn releases, I'm sure, I haven't looked at the market prices, but I'm sure prices for Illusionist stuff have already started to spike a little bit. So I would kind of jump on these sooner than later. But these are just kind of cards that I would be targeting, cards that I think are going to fit in some capacity. And again, Dusk Till Dawn is probably going to release a ton of Light Illusionist cards. We do know that that set is going to have 10 different legendaries. So whether it's going to be a true expansion set where kind of each class gets stuff, or if this is going to focus mainly on light and shadow, that's to be seen. My guess would be everybody's going to kind of get a sprinkling with a focal point on light and shadow. But these are the cards that exist now that I think are going to be relevant. Maybe they might not be in the final build of the new Prism, but these are the cards that I enjoy, or not enjoy, but the cards that I think are going to be relevant. And we're going to start off by talking about kind of the new ward mechanic. Sorry that it got cut out a little bit towards the bottom, but we get the gist of the card. I'm not looking at necessarily Soraya's ability, but I'm looking at kind of the ward mechanic in general. Chris and I did a video earlier talking about the new illusionist stuff and how I think that this is going to be kind of the focal point of the class going forward. It's kind of a new way to go about Spectra. James White was on record talking about how Spectra was kind of not a mistake, but it really hindered the new player experience, which I completely agree. Everybody that has played the game knows that, Prism herself would have been okay had Spectra not been a keyword. And that keyword in general is just, bad for the game. So Ward it's not a perfect fix. It's not a direct fix, I should say, but it's a nice little way to kind of go around it and still give a similar feel. So we look at this, and it's almost hinting at kind of a Dromai-like ability, right? Bellona, or however you want to say that, is the other angel that was spoiled in the article. She is also an angel ally. And so it looks like this new Prism is going to want to summon allies to the field. In order to invoke them or summon them, you have to target a Spectral Shield that you control, which is very similar to Dromai's Ash. The key difference is that Spectral Shields still count as a damage prevention for your health, whereas Ash is kind of a static token that really doesn't do anything on its own. Spectral Shields are relevant in that health prevention or health or damage prevention, I should say. So kind of Dromai-ish in that. I'm sure there will be cards that can differentiate between the two play styles. I don't see this as just being a light version of Dromai, but it's a very interesting thing. I think this ward mechanic is going to be the direction that this new Light Illusionist Prism takes or goes, and so I think that a lot of what we're going to be wanting to do is going to be centric around the ward. I went on record. I keep saying on record like I'm a lawyer in court, but my prediction for this set was that we were going to get a legendary that removed ward from a target ally or equipment, and that's to be seen. But if you look at these next couple of cards, first off, the Marvel Soraya is like $1,000. Don't spend money on Marvel, but since you only need one of these, I would definitely pick it up. If you missed out on Dynasty, I would definitely pick up a Soraya. You only need one. The Rainbow Foil is probably pretty cheap. Again, I'm not trying to, market watch or anything like that, but this seems to be, almost a necessary card for New Prism. I think this is her bag is going to be angel allies mixed in with certain things. So definitely pick one of these up. But if you look at Celestial Kimono, right? I don't necessarily know if this is going to be the chess piece that's going to, be the chess piece. But if you look at Kimono, it says once per turn, when Celestial Kimono or a non-token permanent you control with ward is destroyed, gain a resource. So that's on both players' turns. So you can gain a resource if they kill one of your angels. That is a permanent. And if it's destroyed, you get a resource. But it's also one of these auras. So you play Tome of Ao on your opponent's or on your turn, and it says at the beginning of your action phase, destroy Tome of Ao, then draw a card. So it's destroying itself. So you can get cards that have ward destroyed by your by your opponent. So if you look at the ward keyword on Soraya, if your hero would be dealt damage, prevent 4 of that, and destroy Soraya. And also Tome of Ao, but then if we go further, Blessing of Spirits, that those auras get destroyed at the beginning of your turn. You create whatever they want to create, and then you gain a resource. So these are cute little ways with Kimono to kind of generate extra resources. Granted, it's once per turn, but if you're getting a free resource per turn because you saved, you blocked out, you kept one of your auras alive, like Tome of Ao, you block with 2 cards, you prevent their damage, you refresh a card on your turn, you destroy it, now you have a 3-card hand or so, if you have an arsenal, whatever, plus a free resource. So it seems like a really powerful synergy. And so I think these cards are worth kind of diving into as well. Whether or not they are going to, be the direction. I kind of split these cards up into 2 distinct styles. And this is definitely the ward style. So if you're going the angel route, or if you're trying to predict what the class is going to look like based on just the angels, obviously that says the ward. Kimono itself is pretty strong, I think. It's just a 1 block, but it has that kind of that resource gain whenever you need it. And if all the cards that we're getting are ward focused, then you're going to be gaining that resource a lot. If you guys, ever played Prism, the original Prism, she's very good at not taking damage when she doesn't need to. And so if you have to block out to protect your stuff and then your auras get destroyed on your turn, it's not the most impossible thing to do. Couple that with, Blessing of Spirits. You're creating 3 Spectral Shields at the start of your turn, which is, resource free. You're not spending money. At the start of your turn, you get a free resource. You create 3 Spectral Shields, which adds 3 health effectively to your hero, which is, again, the kind of the illusionist way of getting around things, and prolonging the game. So I think this card especially is extremely powerful. One of my predictions is going to say that, or one of my predictions for the new Prism is that I don't think it's going to be as easy to create Spectral Shields as original Prism was able to, if that makes sense. I think you're going to need cards like this. I think you're going to need cards like I'm drawing a blank, but the 3-cost aura from Monarch that created 3 Spectral Shields. I think these are the cards that you're going to need in order to mass produce Spectral Shields. I don't think it's going to be the hero ability, just because the angels require a Spectral Shield in order to invoke. And so I think they're going to want you to earn it a little bit, kind of similar to the Ash with Dromai, where you kind of have to generate it first. You can't really, now you can, but it's very kind of messy to create a dragon on your first turn. You need the Ash first. And so I think you're going to have to earn it. So I think cards like Blessing of Spirits, cards like Spectral, I'm drawing it. Someone will comment on it, but whatever that card is, I think those are going to be your primary ways of creating Spectral Shields. Next, we have the footsies, the footsteps. I think these are going to come back as the primary leg equipment for Miss Prism. Dromai's kind of gone away from him. She doesn't really need it the way that she's currently being played. And I think the footsteps are definitely going to be her primary leg. Maybe not necessarily for the top ability. I think she's going to have attacks that she's going to want to run along with the angels, but the block value is also very good. One of the reasons I believe these are going to be her primary foot spot, or her primary foot equipment or leg equipment, is because leading up to Dusk Till Dawn, every draft is going to be Monarch Unlimited. That's kind of going to be the support of this set, is Monarch Unlimited. And so if you pull these, I think they're going to want you to use them. And so that's my prediction there, is that Phantasmal Footsteps are going to be the primary. They're going to make a play, or they're going to make a comeback since they're not seeing much play now, which is great. I mean, these things are gorgeous in cold foil and rainbow foil. I love this card. It's one of my favorite pieces of equipment ever since I pulled it, and so I think it's a welcome comeback that I'm looking forward to. Now, if you're not going the ward route, so I think this is where I kind of diverge a little bit as well. I think if you're going to go ward centric, I think Kimono is definitely the play. But I think that there might be an opportunity for us to go light centric as well, which is one of the things that I'm very excited to see. I'm excited to talk about I'm excited to see kind of the character reveal and how these cards are going to be used. And so Vestige is a card that some people played as Prism, some people did not play this card. And it's a card that very well, it's extremely powerful. If you are playing cards like Heralds, if she has a way to give those Heralds go again. Now, I know I'm getting very Luminaris-y, and I don't think they're going to print something nearly as broken as the Luminaris. Although, what I will say is I think what made Luminaris broken is that it did too many things at once. Right, it allowed you to attack with the auras for 0 with go again as long as you pitch the yellow, and then it also gave everything else go again. So I think if it said if you pitch a yellow, all your attack action cards have go again, I think that's okay. And so it would be Luminaris Junior. I think that would be okay. I'm sure it has probably something to do with the Angels, but I think if you have a way to get go again and a way to get cards in Sol relatively easily, which, that's kind of what light heroes do, then I think this card kind of becomes super interesting. So I'm excited to see if this is the card that they go with, or if this is one of the cards that they've focused on when designing this new Prism. If they're gonna steer into the light, or if they're gonna continue with the ward mechanic. Because I think you have two very distinct builds with each chess piece, or with either chess piece. So again, I'm excited. I don't know how many people pulled this out or have this card, but if you're interested in playing Prism, I would definitely hang on to it, or maybe acquire one. I have to acquire one. I actually sold mine like a scrub, so I have to get on finding one here before it goes to $1,000. Now, some of the specific cards that I think are worth picking up here. Like I said, I mean, as long as the auras still have Spectra, which they do, I think there's always going to be a place for them in some capacity. I think this build is going to be, or try to steer away from some. So I don't think playing all of the auras is going to be an option, mainly because I don't know if LSS is going to print a card that allows you to attack with them all, aside from Iris. I don't think you're going to get a Luminaris again. So while the auras are great, right, especially cards like Genesis might be the best if you don't have the option to attack with them. Genesis just kind of generates that value. It's also a Spectral Shield machine, so Genesis could be worth noting in this spot too. But Arclight Sentinel is just great as an instant. You're allowed to use it because it's a Prism spec, so you will be able to put this in your deck. And I just think that for what this card does, what this card presents, I just think it's worth a look. I think this card, depending on what Lizette does, but it's great against Ranger, which is huge right now. It's great against Briar, who's playing non-attack action cards. It's just very good in general. I don't know why I singled out Briar, but it's just a very good card. It was always powerful, and the power level is still the same. And so I think that if you have 3 extra deck slots, I think this card probably fits. And I think this probably goes in before you get to the 3 extra deck slots, just because of how powerful it can be. So Arclight Sentinel, I'm excited to play this card again. It's been a while. I'm excited to, slot this in and, piss people off all over again. All the people that we play with I feel like have wiped this from their memory, And so, the first time this hits the table again after the hiatus, it's going to be some fun. For me, at least, it's probably going to be a ton of disdain from the people across, but I think Arclight is definitely worth picking up. And then I'm not going to go over every Herald. I think the Heralds are good, especially like, War Tunes, the 1-for-7s and things like that. Erudition is probably, just a great card to include. If you're looking for just generic attacks, we have to see what Dusk Till Dawn brings out. But if you're looking for attack action cards, Herald of Erudition is very good. If the new weapon or a hero ability or whatever it is allows go again, then, Erudition is going to be one that you probably auto include. The Phantasm buff aside, or keyword aside, this card was insane. It always has been. And if we can get go again with some weapon or something, then Erudition is going to be included. If we do get that go again, then your War Tunes are probably included, your protections are probably included. You just have to dust off the old Herald binder, but these cards were great, and their power level has not changed. They still play into the current meta. They're still as effective as they once were, especially drawing 2 cards with go again on hit, plus going to your soul. So the Heralds are, definitely going to be a nice little pair. It's kind of cool that they're all becoming their own little angel allies. I enjoy that, but I'm hoping that, you can run both. Now, I think these are going to be for sure auto includes. I think Miraging Metamorph, just a 1-for-7, even if you're not running as many auras, I think just a 1-for-7 is just, it's always been crazy value. This card, we all talk about how crazy it was that this card was printed, and it's not, it's still a 1-for-7 is still a 1-for-7. If you're running Tunic, or if you have Ward, or if you have Kimono and you get the 1 resource from a thing pop in, you don't even have to spend a card to play this thing. It's just get a resource from the Ward popper and then play Miraging Metamorph, which is crazy. And so, the 1-for-7 is fantastic. It's too much pressure. If you do have auras out, if the auras are making a comeback, or we're playing some sort of hybrid, then it just gets that much better. A new card that, not a new card, but a card that, came out that it's piqued my interest. I've talked about this before on the channel, but Phantasmal Symbiosis. I love this card. If you notice at the top, it's got the best colored strip for illusionists, or for light illusionists, I should say. And so it kind of hits all the right notes. Blocks for 3. It's a crazy 1-for-6 as a yellow. And then when this attacks, name a card. Cards with that name are illusionist. So basically what that does is just prevents cards that you suspect your opponent has, like potential poppers that they have. It cancels their popper. They are no longer allowed to use that card to pop. So if you have death knowledge on a character, or a friend, or somebody, like if you're in a tournament and you get deck lists and they're only running 3 poppers, let's say you're running 3 Command and Conquers, you can play this card and call Command and Conquer every time and know that this card cannot get popped. So you're dealing 6 damage, or you're threatening for 6 without the threat of being popped. And you could, snipe, even if you don't know what they have, right? You can always just call out a 6 that you think they're running. And if you catch them, you catch them. So this card is very powerful. Yellow strip is fantastic when we're talking about light illusionists, because regardless of us knowing the ability or not, we know that yellow matters for light. And so I think this card is definitely going to be played. I would even go so far as to say that I would probably play this, or I would assume that this gets played over Miraging Metamorph in the new Prism. That's kind of how confident I am that this card is good. Spectral Procession is another new-ish one from Dynasty. I'm not as high about this. I just put it in there because the way that the angels need to be invoked with Spectral Shield production is going to be a big deal. And so what rewards for Spectral Shield production? This card right here. And it's a 0 cost. It blocks for 3. If this was one of those classic, like, no block things, I would say this is trash. But at worst, this is a 3 block. And at best, if we can put out 4 Spectral Shields, that's when this card gets good. Which, based on the class, based on the Angels needing them, I would say creating Spectral Shields is a must. So this is a card just to kind of keep an eye on. I'm not saying that I love this card. I think it's cool, and it's anything that has a potential infinite hit or infinite attack is interesting, and it's something to worth noting. But yeah, this is a card that I would keep an eye on and just have in the back of my head. Some of you maybe have never even heard of this card, or maybe you pulled it and you were just like, illusionists aren't a thing, so who cares? But yeah, I would keep an eye on this. I think this could be good, and if it's not, it's fine. All right, moving on. I had to do this. Tried and true Fantasma Plasm. I love this card, and if you know, it's a 3 for 9. 2-card 9 is great, and with hand knowledge is cool. And this is always one to kind of keep an eye on, depending on what her ability is. I just had to throw it in there just because I miss it. I miss playing this card. I love illusionist cards. I like the OG illusionist cards. I haven't played Dromai as much. I was kind of like, not for me. But I love the new or the old school illusionist cards. I like the feel of symbiosis and even procession. And I didn't put fractal replication on here, but fractal is so cool. And so I'm excited to kind of dive back into all these. So I think this is going to be, this is one of the best defense reactions in the game. I don't see her not running this card, especially giving access to the Sol. And so Soul Shield, I think, definitely becomes a card that just gets better, a card that you probably want to pick up now before it gets really out of hand. Luckily, there's still unlimited ones left, but I think once she gets fully spoiled and, we start getting the cards from Dusk Till Dawn, I think this card's just going to, explode in value. So I would jump on these now. If you don't have a play set, these cards are great. Same with Cataclysm. Prism ran it sometimes. Some decks didn't run it. It's kind of just a really crazy finisher. My guess would be there's probably going to be cards in this set that replace this card, but if we have the go again, if the Heralds are able to go to Sol, then I think this card is just as good. So you might want to take a look at these cards. Her quote's on there, so they obviously LSS wants her to run it. But I think this card is probably worth picking up just in case. Even if you're not planning on playing Prism, chances are we're going to get some Bolton support, and this card is kind of like the one of the boss cards of light, and so I think Cataclysm makes a comeback. There it is. I should have just remembered what my tabs were. But yeah, Prismatic Shield goes along with Blessing of Spirits here. This is more of the instant, obviously. The 3 cost is kind of sketchy, but it's guaranteed to happen. Whereas Blessing is an aura. It gets destroyed. It has to survive with Ward. But you still get the 3. For a 1 cost, you just get a little bit of a delayed trigger. So these seem, as of right now, they seem to be the ways to create, loads of Spectral Shields, which we're going to need. So Prismatic could be worth looking into. Again, we got to see what the cards are, but these seem to be, the matching. And my opinion would be just if you're running the Ward, or if the plan is to run the Ward centric chest piece, the Kimono, then you're going to run Blessing and probably not Prismatic. But if you're not going to be running Ward, then what's the point of that? I actually think this card is probably just good on its own because, even if you're not getting the resource, 3 Spectral Shields at the beginning of your turn, plus a damage prevention if you need it. Like, all of these new cards just add a health with Ward, which is really, really strong. We've never really had cards like that add, I play a card down, doesn't have go again, but it's still adding a health immediately, which is super annoying for your opponent. It's not just playing Spectral Shields now, it's like also playing all these cards, which is super cool. Moving on, Soul Food. So I saw some discussion about people potentially wanting to buy this card just to get ahead of the curve. I don't foresee this card ever spiking in value. I could eat my words. If somebody wins the Pro Tour or Pro Tour 4 with Soul Food, then here I am. But I still don't think this card is going to be that great. I just think there's so many other cards now in the game, whereas this card is never going to make it. But if we find that the heroes have trouble, putting cards into their soul, then this might be a necessary evil. You load up turn 1 with 4 cards in soul, and then you don't have to worry about it the rest of the game. I know people have tried it with like Bolton, like as of recently, in the Bolton chat, people have talked about soul food as like a turn 1 play or turn 0 play. And so you run 1 or 2 of them just to go for the Hail Mary in case that happens. But, still, I think soul food would be better if it had go again. Soul food would be better if it was an instant. Soul food would be better if you could choose the amount of cards that went into your soul. But as it stands, it's none of those things. And so it's kind of just this weird, weirdly designed card. So I'm not very high on soul food. I would love for it to get played, but I just don't think it's going to be as good I still think it's going to remain to be kind of poopy. Semblance is an interesting one because it was never really played in Dromai, but I want to remind people that it exists because it is kind of a powerful thing, right? So depending on, it could be very sneaky with Prism. Especially think of Erudition. If you have an Erudition and you attack with it, let's say we have go again somehow, and then they try to pop it with their Dominate, and then you Semblance to negate the Phantasm. That's a huge power swing because you got rid of a popper. Sure, it's resource intensive, but you got rid of the popper. Now cards go into your soul, and you're drawing 2 cards, and you can keep going, right? So that's huge. Those are the kind of the plays that I'm going for. Now, the one downside to Semblance, or kind of the one reason why I can see it not being played again, is because the Angels don't have Phantasm. They're just people that attack. And so I think if the Angels had Phantasm, you would see Semblance really spike in value. But I think because they don't have Phantasm, it's another niche card that might be worth looking into once we see what the set entails. That's why I put it there. I'm very interested in Semblance. I'm glad that it's a tool that we have as illusionists, but it's a card also that really needs the rest of the set to flesh out. I think it pairs very well with Heralds, especially certain Heralds that have on hits that they're going to want to, negate or pop. And then I think Semblance is a great sneaky play. It was good at the beginning of the Uprising meta when Dromai was first released. It was a nice way to end, but then I think there's just other more efficient ways people have seen and taken in order to, prevent Phantasm. Like passing Mirage is infinitely better than Semblance, but I like that it's an instant. I think it could be sneaky. I think it's worth keeping an eye on at when this set releases. And then last but not least, the last card that I'm specking on. Sorry to do this to everybody, but the great library of Solana. It's my favorite Fable in the game. It was such a powerful effect when it got off. It is an awkward card sometimes to play, to get stuck with, things like that. But I think if you were able to, consistently abuse this power, but it was just, it's one of the strongest effects in the game. Flesh and Blood is designed around a 4-card hand. If you're playing this card and you're getting a 5-card hand or a 6-card hand with an arsenal, it's crazy. And if you can do that consistently, it becomes broken. I think with the new light set, I think it's important to look at this card, not only necessarily for Prism, but potentially for Bolton, and whoever else is going to get support from the light cards of this set. And so I think Library is a card worth keeping an eye on. I'm sure I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know, but it's a fantastic card. People have agreed, not with me verbally, but with their wallets. If you look at the price for this card, it's spiked So I'm very glad that we do have unlimited Monarch booster drafts, to celebrate Dusk Till Dawn, because I'm hoping that, more people get these cards into the market. Because I think that if this card becomes, or if Dusk Till Dawn allows this card to be played, and people start figuring out ways to play this card consistently, then I think you're gonna want it. It's a niche card, it's a fable, but it's one of those extremely powerful fables that is warranted a deck slot if you can play it. And so, it's cards like this are very good against, control-y decks like Oldham, who is banking on you having a 4-card hand. I don't think he's going to make it until Dusk Till Dawn. We'll have to see. But, I think this card has a place in the game. I'm excited for it to come back because it's gorgeous. It's very powerful. It's fun to play. Except when you draw it, because then you're like, oh, I can't sell it. But I like playing landmarks. And we only have had 2. I think we're probably going to be destined for a 3rd landmark here soon. And so if you're playing a light hero, this is a great counter to, a potential strong landmark coming out. All right. So I covered cards. I mean, this wasn't kind of like it's not a buyer's guide, like I said, but this is like my speculation. What cards do I see fitting in? What cards do I want to, target? What cards am I interested in seeing if there's going to be synergy? One thing I think is for certain is that the Angels are going to be a big deal. The interesting thing that we're going to, I guess, find out is that there are 2 different versions of Prism, the young version and the older version. So it's very possible that the young version is Angel-centric and the older version is not. I think the older Prism is called the Advent of Sol. I think the Advent of Sol. It's something of Sol. I think it's Advent, which is light. And that's all we know. And so it'll be cool to see the differences between the 2 because they both have their monikers. So it's usually like Vincent is just Vincent. And so the older one's going to be Vincent, like painful, whatever. Whereas we have 2 different monikers for the Prism, so they're going to have different abilities. So it'll be interesting. I think, if you're a fellow speculative or speculation conspiracy theorist like myself, I'd love to hear what you're looking for. I know that I didn't cover all these cards. I didn't cover. There were a ton of cards that I missed, I'm sure. And so I'm interested to see what you guys are looking for. I bought all my rainbow foils from Dynasty just because, I don't want her to come out and, spike everything in price. But I'm sure there's cards that I glossed over and thoughts that you might have. Regardless, I made this video because I'm excited. I made this video because, I want to start talking about Prism again, an Illusionist again. And that's not just, dragons. But I cannot absolutely wait until spoiler season, and I can't wait for this set. I know it's a few months away. I'm being impatient, but hopefully you guys share my feelings. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you're as excited as I am for the return, or on the other side of the coin, if you're absolutely dreading the return of Miss Prism, drop a comment. I'd be glad to engage with you. But yeah, I'm sure I'm going to be releasing more of these videos as we get some more information about the new Prism. And until that time, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys are excited for Prism content because I'm, very excited to provide it. But until next time, this has been Ryan with the Roundtable of Wraith, and I will see you guys later.